You're listening to Small Business Talk with Jerry. Sit in on great conversations with entrepreneurs who risk everything chasing the American dream.
Hey everybody, back again. Small Business Talk with Jerry. We have a couple guys here today with us, Aldin and Daniel. I'll let them tell a little bit about yourself and what you do and why you're here. Daniel, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so, as you probably already know by now, I'm Dan. I'm the owner-operator at the Tintin Detail Clinic here out of Stewartville. Recently just moved into a shop finally. I think we mentioned that in the last one.
Yep, I think so.
But I moved in with this guy, and I'll let him introduce himself. Yeah.
Well, my name is Aldin Dan. I'm the owner and operator of Med City Auto Spa.
So, and where's the shop at? Where are you guys at?
So we are right off to 10th Avenue Southwest, kind of close to the airport there.
Oh, okay.
Along 52.
How long have you been there?
So just a little over 2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
And we'll mention we'll have these. Dan's will already have been up, but we'll get Aldin's information up too on talkbusinesswithjerry.com. We'll make sure you guys can link to these guys so you can find them if anybody wants to check out their business and see how they do things. But let's take the next half hour, 45 minutes, get to know everybody a little bit.
Yeah. Sure.
So Daniel's already been on one episode, if you guys have seen that, talking a little bit about, a lot of it was customer service oriented last time.
Yeah.
So what's your background, Aldin? Obviously you were doing things before 2 years ago. So what tell us about you?
Sure. So as far as the detailing goes, this has been my passion for quite some time, and I can comfortably say I've been in this for 23 years.
Wow.
But it's always been, up to recently, it's always been a more of a side income, side part-time passion job type of thing.
Call that a side hustle.
Side hustle. That's right.
Yeah. Side hustle
That's
type
right.
of thing. Even though there is plenty of times that I put in more than 40 hours a week into this. But
and you still do.
You still call it a side. Actually, my background, as far as I've had a career in security for quite a long time. I've spent about 20 years in security. And the last 10 of that was actually with the Mayo Clinic. So recently left and decided to go full-time and basically join here with Dan and just a new adventure, just expand and see how this goes. So so that's a little bit about the background it goes. But I started pretty young, just, kind of 17, 18 when I think I had my first official customer.
Sure.
And just went from there.
Well, and not trying to toss stones at all, but detailing, it's a pretty easy business to get started at. Not an easy job, not an easy business per se, but it's easy to get started. It doesn't take a ton of capital, and it doesn't take a ton of skill. You don't think it does. So maybe let me rephrase that. Mm-hmm. When you're looking as a young person that wants to do something on the side to make some extra cash or start a business, a lot of people talk about detailing because they don't think it takes a lot of skill, and it's
startup cash.
Or startup cash, right? There's not a lot of capital to invest in it. It's a pretty simple startup, but you see a lot of startup detailers that don't stay. Because
even here in Rochester,
right,
and the surrounding area.
And I would say I would put that towards the top of that list of businesses that come and go pretty quick because I think the reason is that people the perception is it's a no-brainer. So you don't have to be good at it. You don't have to. It doesn't take a ton of money. It's a quick, easy startup. And then when they realize how much actual work it is, it's
a ton of work.
It's a ton of work.
Yeah.
And especially on the outside. Inside, clean is clean. To a point. But outside, you can really mess up a car.
Yeah. Burn through paint if you're putting a machine on it, scratch it. Yeah.
Right. Wax, even a simple hand wax. I've seen a lot of hand wax that look terrible when they're done. I'm sure you guys get a lot of people that think, I can handle this, and then they do it themselves and go, why did somebody fix this?
Yeah.
That's got to be a thing for you guys, isn't it? Pretty common.
Unfortunately,
uncommon,
it is. Unfortunately, it is. It's and that's one thing when it comes to this business in particular. People always look for somebody that knows what they're doing,
right?
And somebody they can actually trust. And they can say, hey, I know this is the individual that's actually going to work on my car, and this person has experience, they know what they're doing, or, they just do a little bit of background. Many times we actually walk into a situation where almost feel like we're being interviewed for
sure.
to do their vehicle, and we completely respect that. And you're completely right. It does not take a lot to get started.
To get started, right?
Officially, I mean, you can just a bucket and a few different supplies and
Right.
so on and so forth. But you'll be surprised of how much stuff you start collecting and
yeah.
what all you need to do it properly. And that takes time, years to collect, lots of money. I mean, you just can
Right.
start. You want every new gadget, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. And it can get very expensive, actually.
Oh, absolutely. I had one of my shops I had in Otana years ago, auto repair shop. We had it was a big implement building that we were in, and so we had a detailer come in and rent space from us, and he was quite good. I mean, he said he needed this, like, well, how much space do you need? I'm thinking you need like a garage stall. The garage stall's all you need, and yeah, he was just like, I said, he goes, how about we're walking through, and he says, well, there's a Quonset like shed behind the main building, and there's like 4 of them on the property. He's like, you got lights in here? We've got, and he looks over the corner, and there's like a little wash tub type sink and a floor drain. He's like, floor drain work? I'm like, yeah, it's got water. It's got. What do you want for this? I'm like, this is like almost a 30-foot wide Quonset, and I said it's 50 or 60 feet long. What are you going to do with all this space? He goes, I'm gonna clean cars. I mean, it was just very, very simple guy, but super nice. And he's just like, yeah, this is the kind of space. I'm like, well, I said, I've got this bay right here. I said, there's heat out here, but it's not efficient. It's, and he's like, no, I don't care about that. He said, it'll be warm. It'll be fine. I was like, well, I said, it has its own meter. So I said, you can pay your own utilities back here. Because it was that and another pole shed that was cold storage. So I was like, the heater's never on in there, and you can go in there anytime you want. But I said, I'll let you pay that meter. And I said, it's not efficient. This was 30 years ago almost. Sure. And I was like, you're going to pay a couple $100 a month in utilities for this. And so we worked out rent, but he wanted that space. And I tell you, like you said, when you're good at it and you have a reputation, he just starts bringing in. He comes in with a full-size pickup, and it's a old 4-door, but the back seat's full of stuff, the bed's full of stuff, and I bet he made three or four trips. Yeah, and I was like, dude, and of course,
easily.
Right, and again, not to offend you guys, but I'm like, dude, you're washing cars. I mean, what are you doing here? What is all this stuff? Yeah. But then, the cars would come through, the people would come through, and too, when we fix cars, and so you don't have anything more expensive than that's mobile. I mean, unless you're an RVer, but otherwise your home is about the only thing you really, honestly, most people have that are more expensive than their cars. Yeah. So it is like an interview. I mean, these people want to know they can walk away and know that the car will be better when they come back than when they left it. Yeah. So
I mean, but to your point though, you really don't need that much to get started. But that's where a lot of the people that go into the business, they're just gone, within the first year even. Sure. Because it is a lot of work, and there's clients for every level. Like when you first start, you're going to find clients. Yep. Those are not the ones that are looking for us anymore. Right. They're looking for someone who can do a good high quality job. Yep. And not screw up their car.
Right. Right. Yep. I mean, yeah, because
same thing with you in the shop, right? With the automotive repair shop. Right. There's going to be another new shop somewhere that starts up out of their garage, out of somewhere, and they have customers, but those are not the guys that are looking for you.
Right. Not anymore. But in the beginning, you take whatever comes through the door because you've got to stay open, you got to be profitable, you got to eat. Mm-hmm. But you're right. I mean, as time goes on, you start kind of outgrowing some of those customers. Mm-hmm. And you find your own niche. I mean, very few of us really specialize, but you end up getting known for something. And, one of the things we had, we used to have a guy that was great with Subarus. And so we kind of had that reputation. And then Darwin's good with all of them. I mean, really, he's a fantastic tech. And so we never really lost the Subaru, but he's not a huge fan as far as he doesn't live to tear motors down. So it's like, we kind of gave up on some of the head gasket jobs, some of that big stuff, because we don't have time either. We're busy. Right. And, I mean, that's got to be something for you guys too, is like your add-on sales. When someone comes in, they say, I want a detail. I mean, in any business, you live to look at it, and people they trust you. They expect you to look at it and go, I could fix this. If you want to clay a car, for instance, again, not that I'm the expert in the room on detailing, but if you look at a car going, this is a beautiful rig,
Yep.
and it would benefit from a clay, from claying it. I don't know, is that how you say it, claying it, or
Yeah,
what do you?
sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I mean, obviously, I would venture to guess a lot of your clients probably don't even know that's a thing.
There's a good handful.
You know,
that don't know what they do, but I think a lot of people that come to us
Sure, at that point, I suppose.
now,
right.
yeah, they do.
Yeah, now.
Yep.
Yeah, once you get to that tier of clientele,
Yeah.
but that's another piece of it. Just being good at cleaning the cars, or being mechanically inclined enough to do it and do it right, and picky enough, to make sure it's done to the level that people are going to expect. That's just one part of the job. I mean, because do you guys run a receptionist, a secretary, or you guys do all that yourselves?
Nope, it's just he and I right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Just us.
So you got to deal. I mean, the people are harder than the cars, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I mean, you gotta deal with the customer, and you gotta deal with the car. The car,
Yeah.
that's your business.
I think the challenging part is explaining what goes into the process and what is actually good for the vehicle, and
Sure.
then trying to stay reasonable within their budget as well too.
Yeah.
Because you can, let's say, a basic wash and wax. Sure, we can just go ahead and do that. That's doesn't take much really work to wash a car and just
Sure.
to wax a car. But trying to explain that, going back to that clay bar, that really if we are waxing on top of the contaminants on your paint, that wax is not going to last till maybe the next 2 washes, and that's
Yeah.
about it. So how do I convince you, hey, they have a lot of stuff on your car you haven't touched in years. It's contaminated. We need to get it off. We need to, make it a little better
Yeah.
in order to actually get
Sure.
that wax to last a long time. And there's always a misconception of how long a wax should last and so on and so forth, especially nowadays with ceramic coatings and
I'll say now we
everything on the
introduce
market.
sealants.
Exactly.
new technologies
Yeah.
and
Sealants and everything.
ceramics.
So it's also our reputation too. If I tell you something should last 6 months, it should last 6 months.
Right.
But I can't always promise that till we really get the car ready for that. So-
I've always wanted like on a couple of ours, I really want to do a ceramic coating, but I hate driving around a dirty car, and I hate washing cars. So that's a tough combination.
Yeah.
But that means I'm going through automatic car washes all the time.
Right.
And everything I've read about ceramic coating is no more automatic car washes.
So that's true to a certain extent,
Okay,
right? So
I
that's
want
true
some
with
information on
waxes.
this.
That's true with sealants. That's true with ceramic coatings. It's all true, right?
Okay.
You don't want to go to those tunnel car washes or automatic car washes with the brushes or with the
Okay.
towels or anything like that. You can still go to an automatic car wash.
Just a
Just
spray
use the
only
pressure
touchless.
washer one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with the understanding that if you do that and you do that for a really long time, they'll still have to touch your vehicle once in a while. You have to hand wash it. You have to get some of the stuff off the paint because it doesn't come off that easy over time.
Sure.
It'll just actually embed itself right back on the paint, and it's not going to be as shiny. It's a little dull looking. And we always talk about how the car washes, the pH soap is just so strong and actually kind of leaves
Yeah.
a white haze over time. And it's
Even
just,
when you're ceramic coated.
even if you ceramic coated, and of
Okay.
course ceramic coating protects it. It takes a long time to get there. We're talking about maybe 15, 20 car washes before you start seeing like something doesn't look right, and so on and so forth. So a little maintenance is
Sure.
good from time to time on that. But
Yeah.
we tell most of our customers use automatic car washes.
Okay.
It's not a problem at all. But
And maintenance, it's once a year.
yeah,
Oh, I just
For
got
ceramic
how
coating?
often do you have to
Once a
do
year.
ceramic? Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
As long as I do my part and take care of it.
Yeah, the
They
initial
say
one
that's-
is the most important one, and then I tell my clients, and I've been telling my clients since I started using ceramic coatings, just once you go to those car washes, just use the cheapest one, because we don't want that high pH soap on there.
Oh, sure.
So I just tell my clients use the cheapest one because that's what the manufacturer recommends.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
and then when they come back for the yearly inspection, I just put a topper on it to rejuvenate the ceramic coating, and they're off and they're ready to go for another year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do? And answer together, take your turns, however you guys want to do it. But when it comes to, you've both been doing it for a while,
Sure.
quite a while, obviously.
Yeah, him longer than me for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's the difference between your marketing and your marketing with the time difference? Because that was one of the things we touched on in the last couple podcast or episodes. Actually, was just that we had Ryan Hagelin was on last week, and he said that Roscoe, Steve Ross from Roscoe's Root Beer and Ribs, talked him,
Yeah.
15 years ago, talked him into doing a promo after Christmas of going around and picking up everyone's Christmas trees and get rid of them for free, as long as they would sign up for like a free consultation on landscaping in the spring. So he said, and we were laughing about it because he said, I can't believe Steve talked me into that. He said, I got rid of a Christmas tree for free so I could give a free consultation, free. He said, what was I thinking? and then I said, well, let's break that down. And we talked about how, like where you guys are now, that's a terrible idea. When you're getting your business started and you've got 3 appointments this week, and that's it, all of a sudden that free, it's not such a bad idea to get yourself in front of people. And Ryan did it. He kind of said, he goes, yeah, you're right. And I said, did you get any clients out of it? I mean, did you get any jobs, any revenue? Yeah, I did. I'm like, okay. And you had time in your schedule, right? I mean, you'd have been playing PlayStation the other 2 days otherwise, right? And he kind of laughed about it. He's like, yeah, actually. I was like, so it really wasn't that bad of an idea for where you were in your business.
Right.
And so I guess, what I'm kind of asking is what did you do in the beginning for marketing, and how has it evolved? I mean, I'm assuming it's quite a bit different now from what it used to be. And then same thing to you, Dan, and share, we've kind of talked about time frame, not just so much on you. We know where Aldin's been at, but you can kind of give us your time frame in the business and see what you guys think of that, or how that happened.
Go for it. And just, we'll mention too that, because you didn't mention it yet, but you did mobile detailing for how many years before you just did it out of your garage?
A little over 15 years.
Yeah, so he started mobile detailing. I started in my garage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To take a step back is how I started. So, I was 17, 18 years old, and I was, into cars and streets and meets and things like that. And, of course, my obsession with making my car look amazing all the time just kind of went into this. Well, I was approached by an elderly gentleman who was like, wow, your cars look really clean. Would you do mine? I thought it was a joke because everybody always says that. And he was actually serious. So he was my first paying customer, and it was his 1970 something Corvette, I can't remember, that I cleaned and waxed for him. And then I find out he has like 22 Corvettes. He's just a big collector, big warehouse.
You got a couple, don't you?
I have one.
Just one.
I have one.
That's true.
So a smart car club, a bunch of other friends, things like that, and so on and so forth. And he actually taught me a lot, because he has more experience than I have at the time. So how to do certain things and how to work on these cars, and just went from there as far as being immobile. So I've just had a particular client, and after a few years, it turned into taking care of small car clubs, exotic cars, and so on and so forth. I call it easy. That was easy. And it was not even challenging, because cleaning a clean car that was driven once a month was just not even a challenge at that point. So it got a little boring. But in 2018, I decided I want to be cool like everybody else and have a website and actually register the business and so on and so forth and get that exposure. And lucky at that time, demand was high, and I was overwhelmed very, very quickly with lots of requests. But it was also a new challenge for me, because there were certain things I did not know how to do properly, like actually shampooing the carpets, deep cleaning, things like that. It was also a new challenge for me, and so on and so forth. So
pH is a big thing in the cleaning industry,
pH,
as far as
and
unclear coat or fabrics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's something.
And that's the difference between someone who just is getting in. For those that are listening, like, we have to pay attention to the pH levels. Yeah. Because we do want to use high pH to clean, but then we don't want to leave that stuff in the fabric or on the paint.
Yeah.
Sure.
It gets dirty quicker after that. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's where that's what I mean. It's like, and again, I wasn't trying to downgrade your business by any stretch of the. It's just, but I know that's when you're talking to young people, especially that want to be an entrepreneur. For young guys, I should say. That's one of the first things that, I could detail cars because because I keep my car really clean. It's like, I'm not sure you understand what goes into detailing a car. I mean, you just, you think it's going to be cheap and easy. Not when you're doing it right. I mean, you can make anything cheap and easy. Doesn't mean it's going to work. That's the goal of this podcast, is to help those guys come into their own business. And with you two, this is detailing done right. I mean, obviously you've been around, you've been doing it for a long time. And as we said earlier, this is a quick come and go type business if you don't approach it properly. small business will eat you up.
And that's
period.
the key. And that's
Yep.
the key. When we talk about the advertising and marketing, I really, for me personally, I didn't do a lot of marketing.
Okay.
It was Google, find me on Google, so on and so forth. But the word spreads really quickly. It's like, hey, I got cousin, I got somebody, this guy knows what he's doing, and so on and so forth. A few reviews, and kind of just kind of grows from there on that part. But it is that when it comes to marketing, it's you got to do it right the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
Well,
business
there's a
will come
lot
to
of
you.
there's a
you know,
lot of
take
easy
care of
ways
them.
to
Yeah,
waste money.
customer service,
In advertising.
communicate, things like that's really important. You want to keep that network, keep that connection, checking on him once in a while. Say hi when you see him at the grocery store,
Right.
because they're a client forever.
Right.
On that
Right.
part. So
Yeah,
But-
another human being.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep. But you also go with economy a little bit too. Economy's changing. People are watching their money, and there's just sometimes not always a full week of work. So we're starting to explore some marketing, other venues, of course.
Well, at the end of the day, it's not a necessity.
Exactly.
That it is. We had Tony and Elizabeth Zuko in last about a week ago doing their episode or filming their episode, and she owns Bellissima Aesthetics, and so she does like Botox type injections, and she used the term it's a luxury service. It's like I like that because that's what I had the same comment
exactly
for her
right. That's exactly
was
right.
it's not a necessity. We don't need Botox, but if it's something you want to do, it's expendable income. It's a different clientele. I mean, it's definitely a different clientele. So your service is the same way. I can see where economy would affect you. Probably one of the bigger factors, I would assume, which is terrible because it's out of our control.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, I think during the height of COVID, and anything and everything with silicone in it, the prices just skyrocketed.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Or you couldn't get it for months
Or you couldn't
and
get it
months
at
and
all,
months. So that really took a toll on some of the things that we could get, some of the higher quality things that we could get, and we needed something.
Right.
So we had to buy whatever was available at that time.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. Just there's so many different things that are affected by the economy for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you look at, like for us, we're affected huge by the economy. Also in the auto business, the repair business, but it's the opposite. I mean, you put a Democrat in office and watch, and I should be careful with that, I guess, not trying to be political here, but you typically put a Democrat in office, inflation goes up. That's just a fact. It's not my opinion. Look it up, Google. But it's and when
Fact
inflation,
check.
right? Fact check. That's right. Fact check it. Real facts, though. We're talking real facts, not Facebook facts.
Right. Oh yeah.
But you watch inflation starts going up, interest rates start going up, people start panicking a little bit and not wanting to go out on a 5 or 6 year note. Sometimes, some of the banks are going 7 years on a new car if you're spending enough money, and that's a lot of time when you don't know how high inflation is going to go. And so all of a sudden they start keeping their cars longer, which for us is a huge thing because the repairs, all of a sudden this guy that was going to sell his car in the spring, he's like, I'll hang on to it for another year or two. If I'm going to hang on to it for a year or two, I need to spend X amount. And, we're 5-6 years ago, you get a $5,000 car that needed $2,000 worth of repairs. I didn't even do an estimate. I just call him going, yeah, this isn't a good place to spend your money. We're an honest shop. We don't try to gouge people, and I try to give them good advice. And I wouldn't even do an estimate. I'd just like, this isn't a good idea. You should go shopping. You should go find something new. It's good advice. Now, if I have a $2,000 car that needs $5,000 worth of work, you do the estimate.
Yeah.
Because people are like, I can't buy a new car for $5,000 or nothing reliable. So let's do. I'm like, and it just the first few customers kind of just blow you away. And then after that, you're just like, well, I just have to prepare an estimate for everybody and go, and then they'll ask, do you think it's worth it? Me personally, I'd be looking for something new, but my advice to everybody is go shopping. Now, what you need to make this car safe is another $800. To make this car decent, or back on the road like it should be, maybe you need $1,500 or whatever the case is, $2,000. You know what that number is. Take a couple days, go shopping. If you find that car that sings to you, the wife loves it, the color's right, the price is palatable, well then buy it.
Yeah. But there's always a risk with that too, because you never know If it's another used
If it's another used
or
car,
whatever,
yeah, you don't know what.
you don't know what you're going to inherit. So
No.
yeah.
No, that's right. I mean, because they might be coming to see me next week with the new one, and now they just spend a bunch of money, and now they get to spend a bunch more. That's it, and those are the risks that people don't want to take when inflation is out of hand, when interest rates are on their way up, when gas is huge. I mean, when milk is $5 a gallon.
Or when government decides to do cash for clunkers.
Yeah. Oh, that was huge.
was brutal.
Yeah, that was huge for us. Huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, brutal. And I really don't think anybody realized the long-term impact that would have. Everyone knew it was going to impact today. You know, when it happened, it was going to be, this next year is going to be tough. I don't think people saw that 5-year projection on it.
Right.
I don't think anybody had accurate projections. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, that again, back to things you can't control.
Right.
It's like, we elected these people, and we had once that ballot's cast,
Yeah.
you're done. You have no idea. You just hope they told the truth or some semblance of the truth
Yeah.
that might benefit us. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, we had 4 years where it was great to be in small business.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they come back.
Yeah.
You know, I really do, because this country, I don't know if everyone really understands the backbone of this country, how much small business means to that. You know?
Much, yeah.
It is. It is.
I mean, just look at, like, for example, you know, the Stewartville Tiger football team right now. They're going to state. They're
Yep.
going to the championship.
Yep.
We went. I took my family and my kids.
I saw that. I saw it on Facebook.
This past weekend, and they played in the at the U.S. Bank Stadium.
Yep.
And I mean, the buses that ferried, the 3 buses that ferried all the people to and from, those were all backed by small business here in Stewartville.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so
Yep.
you know, that's just one example of many different examples of
Yeah.
you know, what it takes to carry a small town. And can you imagine the amount of money that goes into that program too,
Right.
from
Right.
small business owners?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, it's
donations.
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, we talked about this multiple times when you have folks coming in asking you for donations because they have some kind of fundraiser, whether it's a family in need or it's a school program or whatever it is, you know, community outreach. I can't impress enough upon these people that are asking for these things. Amazon doesn't do that.
Right.
You know, it's not this doesn't work. You spend your money all day online and then go to the little guys that you're cutting out asking for the donations, you know. And not that everybody does it. A lot of folks, you see their faces all the time, then they come in and want a donation. It's like, no problem. I mean, really, no problem. But when you get somebody you've never met before, it's like, I own this business. I've been here day in and day out for the last 20 years. I have no idea who you are. But now they come with their hand out, and it's like, pass.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's hard because nobody comes in with a ridiculous need, you know, or fundraiser. They're all important. I mean, whether it's someone's house burnt down, we want to send a kid to the, a band concert, a band trip to Florida, whatever. Right. I mean, you know, the family can't afford to do it. They're all good causes. So you hate to say no to any of them, but you got to say no to something. Because I don't know how often you guys get hit up. It's
right. You and I talked about it pretty good.
We
but
did.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you ever been approached by anybody for donations or support for anything like fundraisers or sponsorships or anything like that?
I can't say that I have anything recently. Nothing that I was really passionate about supporting, and I am when it comes to community. And one thing to kind of just touch back on is just what as we're talking here, I'm thinking of, you know, we're just not as close as we used to be. People don't hang out as much as they used to. I mean, everybody's just running around, working constantly, and we're losing touch between one another. And that's basically what it kind of comes to when it comes to, hey, do I buy it on Amazon or do I go down the street?
Right.
And so on and so forth. You know, your convenience in your laptop, you're going to just click and basically get it because you don't have that extra 5 minutes or you're not putting that extra 5 minutes of effort to do so because it doesn't mean much to you unless us as a small business owners are reaching out to those people because we need to do more. We need to network more. You know, we need to get together more, and we basically, and this is, you know, a perfect podcast for that as well too. Is reaching out to our community and say, hey, we're here. You know, maybe car detailing is not a good example, but it
It's a
certainly
great example. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's you can't.
Everyone's
you
got a
can't-
dirty car,
You
including myself.
can't buy it on Amazon, I suppose, and things like that.
Yeah, you can't
but
buy that on
there's certain
Amazon.
things,
Right.
like small stores that
Yep.
could use our support on that part. But one thing you mentioned is the history. History repeats itself usually, and I
Yes.
think this is a time to strategize. This is a time to get out and actually get into community
Right.
and present yourself and who you are, because the time will come in 2 years where people will need to get their car detailed,
Right.
and it's going to be like, okay, I can't look at it anymore, because
Right.
it's just been so long. But things have turned around.
Yeah.
Economy will change. People will have
Right.
money to spend on things. It's just right now, groceries are more important, and
Right.
we understand that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're a lot more expensive right
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just we're running out of savings, because
Right.
you're doing fine for a year, and then you start looking at your account, and things are changing slowly because you're spending more money on
Right.
everything else.
Well, and we're Americans, so if you make $10, you need to spend 11. That's
Yeah.
how.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we. I mean, that's how this country is
We're
functioning.
consumers.
We're consumers. Yeah,
consumers.
American consumers.
Yeah.
I mean, I love this country. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a slam against America, but it's true. I mean, so many people live outside their means, and that's where, the luxury services they can suffer sometimes prematurely because of that. So, but I agree with you 100%. I think as a society, I think we really lost touch with. I mean, when I was a kid, right? We didn't have texting. Wasn't a thing yet. I mean, I'm 52, so
Yeah.
we didn't have cell phones when I was a kid. I mean,
I barely made it into the texting phase.
okay. Yes,
You and I both. Yeah. We
yeah.
barely made it in.
Yeah, when I was 17 or 18, a friend of mine's dad had a bag phone in their Lincoln, and I mean it was a cell phone, but it wasn't much of one. I mean
Right.
and it was tied to the car, and it didn't have great reception. It didn't go very far, and you couldn't take it outside the car. You had to go to your car, and it was crazy money. I mean, it was a few $100s a month back then, but he was a realtor, did well for himself, and he wanted to be connected, and that's where it started.
Yeah.
But I think now, how many times you and I have done this? I mean, how many times I don't call you when I need something? I text you and I say, "Hey, got time for a call?"
Yeah. Same.
Because so it's almost like a respect thing now. When I was a kid, you wanted to talk to somebody, you picked up the phone, or you drove to their house and just
Right.
knocked on their door. I mean, now if you're not expecting someone and someone knocks at your door, it's like, how dare you? What is going on?
Who's coming to my door at this time?
Right. And and for us, when I was a kid, when somebody knocked the door, it was like, hey, it was cool, somebody's here. And you're like, you kind of go looking out the window, the two, the mom's in one room, I'm in another, people are open window, shades, and you're looking to see who's there. It was exciting. Now it's like, I don't even want to call you without texting first because I don't want to bother anybody. It's
Right.
And we've done that to ourselves as a society.
Yeah.
I remember getting my hair cut when I was a kid. It was Jerry's Barbershop here in town. And my dad would just be like, we just walk in, and Jerry, how you doing? Talk to him, and he's cutting hair, and whoever's in the chair. My dad's a mailman here. I should mention that, so he knew everybody in town, small town, and I'm 52 again. This was 40, 50 years ago, and Dad knew everybody, so he just how long, Jerry? Oh, probably a good hour before. Okay, and he had a whole row of chairs, and he had the old pop bottle machine that you opened up like a chest and put 25 cents in and slide the bottle off, and they just get me one. He'd have one, and we just sit there, and there'd be another two guys sitting there waiting, and you just sit and talk.
Yeah.
You didn't call for an appointment. You didn't, and you didn't get mad when he told you it was going to be an hour and a half. Just, I'll come back, or you just sit down and and shoot the bull with everybody. It's like, and it was just a community.
Yeah.
We don't have that anymore.
Right.
My mom used to keep food like in the like little things in the freezer for when company came over. Mm-hmm. So you had something to whether it get thawed out quick or whatever, but you had to have something because when people would just show up, and it's
Gosh,
like,
I didn't even think about that. Having something for guests in case somebody shows up.
Yeah,
Doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen
No.
because they're coming. We text you to see if we can call you to ask if we can get together sometime,
Yeah.
and then we plan it for a week and a half from now. When's the last time somebody called and said, "Hey, you do anything? Okay, I can be there in 5 minutes, or I can be there, and I'll come down and we'll hang out."
Yeah.
As a society, we just
And that's even getting harder nowadays. With
It is.
family, trying to keep up with all the kids' activities and everything that's going on, seeing your close friends is even becoming
Yeah.
difficult from time to time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of my closer friends, now that I think about it, they all have a small business of some kind.
Yeah.
So they too are hard to get a hold of.
Yep.
I mean, let's, Danielle, for example, with the Dogs Den.
Yep.
I knew I was going to be done early one night, and I know we've been trying to get together, our families together, out to lunch or dinner or something. And I just texted her last minute. I said, hey, I'm going to be done at this time. We're going to go to Cars Bar and Grill in Racine. Do you guys want to, meet us there or something like that? And 10 minutes later, we're making plans to go there and meet at 6.
But that's not
Yeah.
normal.
That's not normal.
That's not normal anymore.
It's not.
That used to
No.
just be a thing. You just knock on a door. You guys want to go grab a bite to eat?
Right.
Sure. And
Yeah.
then half the time my mom would be like, I already got dinner done. Come on in.
Yeah.
And
But
you
my
just-
point being is that even with that, it's last minute.
It's last
like,
minute.
It wasn't
Yep.
planned or nothing. It was just last minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's, but that's what we've done to ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't have that. We don't have that structure anymore.
Right.
And then like say now you put kids in it. Now and then you got to worry about can we get along? It's
Yeah.
like, well, we can't go out with them because their kids and our kids, or or whatever, So it's just when I grew up, if my dad had a friend, well then my mom was going to be his wife's friend.
Yeah.
Now they might talk trash when they got done, but they were all friends when they were together.
They were at least friendly.
Yeah, that's kind of how we've really gotten away from that as a society. And
Yeah. But to keep, building on that, something that I wanted to hope to talk about is just more of that customer experience, more of those customer interactions, and why I think people like to come to me. And I hope that you share something too of, and maybe you haven't realized it, or maybe you have, but why do people come to you? And I'll ask you that question if you want to answer that one first,
Yeah.
and then I can give you guys a couple examples that I have myself. If you were to say, let's say I come to you, why do you think that I came to you in the first place?
Well, I'll give you an example from this morning, from today.
Sure.
That was, and why this is a good example, because this vehicle, this gentleman was brought in from a third party to me because they were somebody else was not able to complete the job, and it was referred over to me to get it done. And I have not even met him till the vehicle was actually picked up. So, but what I did is I've called him prior to it. I set the expectations of what we are doing and what he wants, where the budget is, and so on and so forth. And I communicated the whole time throughout the process. Where are we at?
Yeah.
What's being done? Sent a couple of pictures there and there. He knew where the vehicle was. The vehicle is being taken care of. And that's what he acknowledged today.
Yeah.
Is, thank you. This was a very nice service, very nice clean shop. And I'm going to be back because I knew pretty much everything what was going on the whole time with my vehicle without even meeting me ever at all.
Yeah.
So that's just one example why
Right.
people come back, is that communication. And I made him feel comfortable that this, you were, whatever this car is,
you were
$80,000
professional about it,
car,
yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's being
But
taken
that's
care
a
of.
perfect.
Right.
That's a perfect definition of
Right.
luxury service.
Right.
I mean,
I
we just talked
Yeah.
about that. That's a
Yeah.
perfect example of that.
I've had times where I've dropped off my cheap car at the dealership somewhere, and I don't know what's going on with it.
Yeah.
What
You're
they're
having to
doing.
call.
You
I
have to
know.
call to find out what's
Right.
happening
Yeah.
to it. It's dear to me.
Yep.
It's not a fancy car for them, but it's dear to me. I would like to know where the status is of it is,
Right.
and we don't get that anymore.
No.
We just
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
tough. It's
so-
tough. Yeah.
So communication, the customer service is important. That's the one reason I think why people
Yeah.
prefer that and like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I-
I mean, for those that are listening, there's some key points that you made. Is expectations.
Yes.
You gotta set those expectations right with those people, because if they're coming in here expecting a $500 detail, but they only paid for a $250 detail, I mean that's gonna go south real
Right.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That is a challenge to explain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And
Well,
another point is like the how professional you were, constant communication. It's like people really want to know where you're at in that step, even if you don't think they want to know, they want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, now your business is different than mine in that sense, because for me, of course, in your situation today where you'd never met the guy or the gal, whatever it was, you just got to do your best. I mean,
Correct.
give them your level of service. Now, for me, you guys have, I mean, if people are coming in to spend on a higher end detail, they appreciate their car, right? Like you said, it's a big deal to them, or they wouldn't, or the image that it gives, whatever the case is, whatever they're looking for, but they're looking for something. It's not just I'll go get my car detailed today. I mean, it's not just a secondary thought that I got nothing better going on. Let's do this. With me, when they bring the car in to be fixed, I have to, if I don't meet the customer, it's just a drop off, or I've talked to them on the phone, set an appointment, then I come in, the keys are in the drop box. Same thing. I have to give them that highest level of service that I'm used to, because that's what people expect.
Yeah.
Once you get to know the person, and that's why I tell everybody, it's like, we fix cars, but we take care of people. Mm-hmm. That's really what we're about. Mm-hmm. Because I have plenty of clients, if they didn't need to get somewhere, they couldn't care less about their car. They don't know what year it is. When you're like, okay, what are we bringing in? We're bringing in a Chevy Impala. What year is it? Oh, yeah. God, like a 17 maybe. Or they just, they just don't know. Sure. But they don't care. And these are not like not intelligent people. I mean, right. These folks, they're, very intelligent, college educated, professionals. But it's not they don't know. It's not that they're not smart enough to know what years their cars. They just don't care. Mm-hmm. It's not important to them. They're like, yeah, it got me here. I mean, it's it's leased. It's about 2 years old. Or that's what they'll tell you. They have no idea what year it is, but I've had it about 2 years. Yeah. I got a year left of my lease, so must be a 21. Or that's but they'll just kind of do the math rather than because they just don't know.
Yeah.
Now in that case, you have to get to know your customer, because some of these customers, when you call them or you text them or whatever your process is, they're just like, well, is it done? No, not yet. I was kind of telling you, just call me when it's done. It had a problem and I dropped it off. Call me when the problem's not there anymore. And it's like, I mean, some people don't even want estimates. Right. I mean, that's, these are some of our clients that they know us, they trust us. And so I have clients that I have to kind of hold their hand. Like you said today, sure. I go through a process similar to that where I'm texting, I'm giving them updates throughout the day. We're kind of keeping them abreast, and any penny that you spend, which is how I like to do it. I don't like to not give an estimate. I don't like anybody to walk in the door and not have a really good idea of what their bill is. That to me is just terrible business.
Yeah. That was tough for me too, to get used to not doing an estimate sometimes. I don't have a lot of people that don't require an estimate, but I've had a handful, and he's been, on a job with me, I think recently, where it's like, so you're just going to do your thing, and like, we're just going to charge them whatever. Like, that's what we're doing. I said, yep, that's what we're doing. Yep. It wasn't easy at first, right? Because I want people to know how much it's going to be. But no, this guy literally said, I want you to do this, and just let me know how much I owe you when you're done. Yep. That's it. But a small business owner, so I'm sure he didn't have time for me to go through all the little details.
But that that shows what people think of you.
Yeah.
I mean, they know that we, like you said, well, we'll just charge whatever. It's like, well, no, we don't charge whatever. We charge what the job's worth. We charge, and when a client tells you they don't need an estimate, they are counting on, you have a reputation with them somewhere that they believe you're going to charge what the job is worth. Whether you gave them an estimate or not, that number's not going to change. It's not going to get higher because you didn't give them an estimate. We all have integrity here, and we're not going to do that, and they know that. But it's funny, that when I tell people a story like that, they're like, "Oh, it's a dream customer." Not really.
Not really.
It drives me crazy. I hate the fact that I know I have this $80 bill or $880 bill, but he has no idea when he's walking the door. He's just like, and none of my clients that have done that have ever been upset about a bill, but I'm just like, there's no reason to ever get upset if you know what you're walking into.
Yeah.
And I would rather that. But they're like, just fix it. Jerry, I've known you for years. Mm-hmm. Just fix it. Just, get it handled. Treat it like it was your daughter's car.
Yeah, I still have a hard time with it.
I do too.
To this day. I mean, when he booked his appointment, I confirmed. I said, okay, this is what you want, and just I'll charge you what that service costs. And the day before, I called him and reminded him. I said, hey, we're gonna get ready, and I just want to confirm, like, this is what you want, and then, you just want me to bill you when I'm done. I just want to confirm that, just like that. And he's like, yep, just let me know when it's done. And he came in towards the end of the service when we got done with his vehicles, and he's like, wow, you guys do a great job. Yeah. And that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I saw Danielle's dad when he did his GMC.
His dad was a hoot.
Yeah.
Her dad was a hoot.
Yeah. He's a nice guy. Yeah. That whole family, they're fantastic. Yeah. We go out to dinner with them once in a while, and I just, I could just, Daniel, when I went and picked up the dogs from Danielle a couple days after that, or maybe the day after that, and she was like, yeah, Dad just couldn't believe it. He said, I don't think this thing looked this good when it was new.
Yeah.
And so that's
That's
a real
about the
testament.
comment that he made in
Yeah.
person when he was
Well, that's
there.
what she told me. That's
Yeah.
exactly what she said when we were
Yeah.
talking to her. She goes, yeah, Dad looked at it. He said, I don't think it looked this good when it was new.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a testament to what you guys do. You know, it really is.
Yeah.
And
And back to your
Actually-
point, I mean, we since we both work on cars, that's just how that's just the business that we're in is the cars. But really, it's
that's
it's
why we're
about
still
the people.
doing it.
Yeah.
That's why
It's
we're
about
still
the
doing
people.
it. I mean, really,
Yeah.
that's a part of why we still do it. I mean, you stick. You're not a fly by night. You don't. The thing I think people really need to get out of this podcast is, it's not easy.
Right.
I don't care what it is, and that's why having you two on
And
here
why you do it.
and why you do
Yeah.
it. Right. It's if you're. I was talking with a young lady today, a good friend of mine, and she was talking about she has a job. She'd like to own a business. And she says, well, I just need to do some brainstorming and figure out what I want to do. And I was like, it's not about brainstorming. I mean, that's like picking up a dictionary to pick a new word you're going to use today. That's not how most of us do it. That's not how that works. To brainstorm, what are you passionate about? Don't brainstorm. Just come up with ideas of business. You can just drive down the street and start pointing at addresses, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, what are you passionate about? What can you do day in and day out for the next 20 or 30 years? I mean, she's 25. So, she's not going to retire next year. She's just getting started. And it's like, you got to find something you're passionate about. What can you do day in and day out? And what you guys do, it's hard work.
It is.
It's hard work. And I don't think a lot of people give it the credence it deserves. I mean, again, I think a lot of people think, well, again, cheap to get started. Don't have to be real talented. We can just get in there and do it. So anybody can do it. No, you can't.
Right.
No, you can't. That's the thing that people just don't understand about a lot of small businesses. Even if you have the ability and the talent, if you don't have the passion, it's going to show.
Yeah.
And you'll never get to where you guys are. You never get to that. I mean, anybody can detail cars and give that $79.99, quick in and out. You vacuum you wipe out the dust on the vents and the top of the dash. Make sure the windows are clean and and the tires are glossy, and charge a little bit of nothing. Well,
Right.
You can sell those details all day long.
But you're not going to survive long.
No, you're not going to make it.
No.
You're not going to make it. You're gonna break a sweat your first few days, but by the end of the year, you're like, this is ridiculous. Even if you're busy all the time doing those kinds of services, at the end of a year, you're going to look back on your last year going, I don't have anything to show for this.
Right.
I mean, I busted my ass. I sweat every day, and
Body's going to be beat up.
yeah, and I got $9 in the bank to show for it. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
what am I doing? You have to understand your worth, and that kind of mentality will just never get them to where you guys are at. You never get, because if you do get your clients to try them, they won't go back.
Yeah.
They won't. I mean, even if they're used to paying X amount with you, and they go to them and it's a third the price, but the job that gets done, they're not going back.
Right.
It's just not. And that is so true in so many businesses, different businesses. You have to know your client, and if you're going for that bottom end, that's probably a terrible way to say it, but that entry level client, maybe use that as a term. But entry level clients, they're not going to keep you. They're not going to keep you busy, and if they keep you busy, they're not going to keep you fed.
Right.
I mean, so how long did it take you to move from from a client, from that kind of clientele? What kind of time did it take to? I'm assuming most of yours being a side hustle in the beginning was friends and family.
Correct.
And, yep.
Yeah,
Because you can see you didn't have to
I
market.
wasn't on Google till 2018.
Yeah.
Personally myself, I wasn't. And that's just a very interesting a story and interesting challenge. It's just that every day certain things you were facing and learning so much, and not just about how to properly do everything. And of course, what helped nowadays is that we have actually things online that you can learn from a little bit. Maybe not exact same thing, but if you have a little bit of a logic and kind of a concept, you can pick up some tricks and so on and so forth. The mistake I made is spending $20,000 in about every product I can think of because I see it on YouTube and I want to buy it and try it. In the end, really everything just for the most part, a lot of stuff is working the same way as long as you know how to use it.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth.
Well, maybe a better question is, as I keep saying that people think it's cheap and easy to do. Once you start at especially in your story, starting as kind of a side hustle, and then a lot of guys don't like to admit that they didn't know how to do something. Well, none of us knew how to do anything. At
I didn't know
one
how to
point.
charge right.
Right, right. That's a part
Yeah.
of the job.
That's part of the job.
Part of the job.
I think
That's
one
an
of the
important
first
part.
bigger, wax and buff, we'll call it, because that's what it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't, what I know now and what I do now. I charged him $250 for a full size pickup, and it took me 3 days to do.
I've
Yeah.
had those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally kicked my
Certainly.
butt. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was a learning experience for me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now I know it takes me this long to do. Now I know that I need to take that money that I did make and just go buy better equipment
Right.
so that I can do a better job and quicker job.
So if I hired you, and I had you work for me, and I said, okay, Dan, but bring your own equipment.
Yeah.
I'm not going to provide equipment. Oh, and the chemicals you're going to use, I'd like you to bring those too. And yeah, I'll give you $250 for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Nope.
Right? I mean, it's like, what? I mean,
Yeah.
it just, but as a business owner, you did that to yourself.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Yep.
I didn't try to get you. You did it to your, but we've all done that. So I guess the question I have, I'm hoping this leads to some interesting answers.
Sure.
Again, I keep saying over and over, cheap and easy to get started. What surprised you what surprised you that you didn't know? I mean, when you obviously you get started, and then all of a sudden, as you start doing these cars, going, wow, I thought I was good at this, or I had this picture of me just walking in here and doing a great job, and now it's like, I don't even know how to do that properly. That had to be a thing for both you guys. I mean, at some point, even if it was just charging a customer how to bill, that's part of the business.
Yeah.
That's an important part of the business.
Yeah. I think for me it was something that I didn't realize right away was what I mentioned before is there's certain pH levels in certain cleaners, and when you're using it on fabric, you want to get that stuff back out of there. So I think that was one that I didn't know right away off the bat, was just, I'm using a great cleaner, but
Yeah.
I'm leaving it there, and that's not good,
Sure.
right? Because
So that's why when I have this is a genuine question, I have a company that will come and clean my carpets, and I mean within a week and a half, they got traffic again.
yeah,
And then I bring in the company that we use now. They do it, and obviously the dirt gets back there. The traffic lines come back in my carpet at work, but I mean it takes weeks, like 6 weeks, before you really have a noticeable trail.
Yeah.
And it's like, if before I was doing it once a month, and when they would come in at the next interval, 4 weeks later, it looked like they hadn't been there in 2 years.
yeah,
Now my new guys, we have them come about every 2 months, and it's not as bad at the 2 month point that it used to be at the 4 week point before, because it wasn't even once a month; it was every 4 weeks. Was how they did it. Now these guys they come the first week of every other month. So it's actually a longer interval. So that would be the reason, I would assume, is that they were
probably
leaving chemical
because they're
behind.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, probably because they were just doing a one-step type thing, and they were one and done.
Okay.
Clean it, looks good, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I was going to say, when I watch the process of it, these guys take a little longer. It does seem like they run more water through the system.
Sure.
But the process really doesn't look any different to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the chemicals are using. The equipment. I mean, it all looks the same.
Yeah.
We know that doesn't mean anything. You
Right.
know.
Yeah.
It tracks dirt
Yeah.
much quicker afterwards.
Much
When
quicker.
it's in
Yeah.
a high pH level, and just the things like, people put all kinds of stuff on their dashboard to make it shiny, things like that. The next day, it's just covered in dust. It's
Yeah.
just attracting the dust and so on and so forth. So
Yeah, dilution of products. I mean,
Dilution,
not
yeah.
using, high pH stuff on leather. Just
Okay.
all that stuff. There's just so much to learn. All the little things.
And these are the things
in
that
the
a
car
guy
detailing
that's
industry.
and these are all things that a guy that says, I'm going to be a detailer because
Right.
it's quick and easy, or cheap
Right.
and easy to get started. They know nothing about this stuff.
Right. But I mean, if you go in cheap and easy, and you're staying there, you're not going to last long. It's
right,
all about
right.
okay, I'm going to go start get in there cheap and easy, right? But
Yep.
then the money that you are making, you better put that back into your business by either spending more time
Right.
and learning more and buying better products and buying new stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
the one thing that we spend a lot of time on is self-educating.
Sure.
Is just learning more and more constantly every single day, because for us, and just like for you, cars change constantly.
Constantly.
I mean, we can have a same year 2018 F-150 that was manufactured, maybe 6 months later, all of a sudden there's like a different fabric in it for something like
Sure.
that we have to try to clean in a different way. Or the one thing that surprised me, for example, it's luckily that I knew this because I read it. You know, you go and basically self-educate afterwards. Is for a while, Chevy Silverado had an issue with where pretty much their door panels, anything you clean it with, seems like even just a mild cleaner, there's the coating on it that keeps coming off.
Oh, okay.
And when I got my first one, that's the first thing that I was paying attention to, and somebody actually did it prior to me, and it was already worn off.
Yeah.
So I could tell right away. And, you know, those are the things that kind of surprises you sometimes
Sure.
from time to time. But we spend a lot of time on self-educating, you know, making sure that we don't cause the same issue or we don't damage the cars, because you just never know. They're
Right.
constantly changing.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of plastic they use anymore,
Right.
but you have to
Right.
start, you know, with something that's very, very mildly aggressive and kind of go from there, especially if they're a little more extra soiled.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there was leather seats. You just wipe it quickly, and all of
Sure.
a sudden there's a dye transfer in your, you know, on your towel. It's like, what is going on? And you find out it's some kind of leather that, you know, you never heard of or something like that, or it's just cheaply manufactured and so on and so forth. So,
Right.
Yeah. Thankfully for me, you know, my background has been automotive.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned it before on the previous podcast that I did with you, but I went to school for automotive. And, you know, my career was fixing cars right off the bat, right after automotive school.
Sure.
So I kind of knew, like, back to the Silverados, there were some Silverados out there that door panels are painted.
Yep.
And you scratch it too hard and it comes right off and it reveals the true color.
Yep.
Like, that's how cheap they were, you know, back in certain years.
Yep.
They used one color, and then if they wanted a different color interior, they just spray painted it.
Yep. It's
literally.
that spray dye. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So I knew what to look for in some of those things because of my automotive background.
Right.
But had I not had that automotive background, I could have easily damaged some of those panels and things like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and two, I mean, there's so much to know in your, like everyone's business. I mean, you have to know the customers. You have to have some kind of accounting, you know, knowledge. I mean, because again, you have to be able to bill people. You have to be able to pay your bills, and then the chemicals.
Yeah.
And then equipment. I mean, equipment's not created equal either. Like I said, these guys that shampoo my carpets at the shop, it's like, I couldn't tell you what their equipment was. I have no idea, but I guarantee you those guys can, because they're telling me how much. Our new guy, he tells how much better his equipment is. It's this van-mounted something. He's got this 10-minute explanation, and I'm just like, will the carpets be clean when you're done?
Yeah.
Will it be dry by morning? Yep. You're hired. Let's try this. I don't
Right.
like who's doing it now,
Yeah.
so let's try this. You know, and he just kind of laughs. He said, because now where am I? I'm that customer that's like, I don't care. I really don't. Here's my deal. I pay to have it cleaned. 2 weeks later, it's dirty. 2 weeks after that, it's filthy. Then they come and clean it again, and I don't even get 2 weeks out of it. You know, and it looks bad.
Yeah.
By the time they come clean it, it looks like it hasn't been cleaned in 6 months.
Right.
I said, can you do a better job than that? And he starts taking a deep breath. I'm like, don't take a deep breath. This is a yes or no question. Can you do better than that? Because he's going to tell me
Yeah.
pH levels probably. You know, who
Yeah.
knows what he was
Right.
going to say, but I
He's
just got to
gonna
cut him
into
off.
all
And I'm like,
technical, yeah.
right, he's just going to, but I asked the question,
Yeah.
and he's going to just fill my head with all this knowledge that I don't want. You know, I mean, and I hate to say I don't care, but I don't. I really don't care. If I bring you my car and it's not shiny, I would like to pick it up shiny.
Yeah.
You know, if the carpets are muddy, I would like to pick them up clean.
Yeah.
You know, and I really don't care how you get there. You know, that's if I'm bringing my car to you to clean it, that means I'm probably not going to do it myself, and I probably have no intention of doing it myself anytime soon. So, guys, I trust you. Take my car, get it done, and that's kind of where I was with the carpet. I was like, can you do a better job than that? Yes.
Yeah.
You're hired. Let's give this a try. You know, and like I said, it's what I can't believe, what I didn't understand, and I didn't want to understand it. You know, at the time, I didn't give him a chance to explain. Was why are my carpets so dirty right after you do it? I mean, because I'm thinking, well, that's not your fault. You cleaned it. They were clean when you left. They look great. When I came in the morning, they look fantastic. 2 weeks later, they're already dirty again. It's like, this never used to be an issue, you know? But but our guy retired that had been doing it and been cleaning it. And then, now when we had our new guy then, boy, it's just terrible. It's dirty so fast. And now we're back to, doesn't get dirty like that again.
Right.
So it's like so it is what he was doing. But I couldn't wrap my head around that it was clean when
It
he
didn't
left.
make sense to me either right off the bat. But,
No.
you know, then you start going down that rabbit hole and you start to learn, you know, why that is. Then it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Now I understand why.
I had a good friend of mine that used to tell me, he says, you know, the more you know about something, the crazier you sound when you talk about it.
Yes.
And it is so true.
It is.
It is so true because, I mean, without that experience of the shop, you know, on that carpet, if you tell me, well, right after you wash it, I can wash it with stuff that makes it easier to get dirty. It's like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
No, you can't. Come on, where's the punchline here? But no, it's true. And the more you know about anything, you know, you sound like a lunatic talking about it sometimes. But
I'm guilty of that.
yeah, but that's it. But you know, it's the lunatics, the guys that sound like lunatics like us. You take your business seriously.
Well, the
We do.
passion.
It is. You're back to that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, because and the reason why I take the time to get to know and do better every day, every week, every month, you know, than the last is because I absolutely love the reactions that I get from people when they come back and see their vehicles, either right after I'm done cleaning it or polishing it or coating it or tinting it. It's just big smiles on their face, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's a night and day difference between you know, is this the same car that I dropped off? Like, I get that comment so many times.
Yeah,
It's
I bet you do.
That's what keeps me going.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Daniel, because you don't do tinting, right?
He does with me now.
Okay.
Helping.
Okay.
He
Okay.
helps.
All right. Learning, right?
He preps.
Learning.
He's really good
Helping.
at cleaning, so he
Yeah.
preps everything.
Yeah.
for
Okay.
me. Yeah.
Okay. So, have you had anybody else like my wife that wanted you to double up the tint on her sunroof?
Yeah.
So we're not just the crazy,
No.
kooky people that wanted that. Because I'll tell you what, I thought that was, to me, it was like a heated steering wheel. When someone said you're gonna have a heated steering wheel, I'm like,
Those are amazing.
you've got to. It was the dumbest thing. I thought it
know.
was the absolute dumbest thing when I heard about it.
Yeah.
Now, living in Minnesota especially, I wouldn't buy a car without it.
Yeah.
I
Those
would.
are amazing.
Same here.
But when you tell me what you thought when the first time someone said, "Does that have a heated steering wheel?"
Well, I probably had a different reaction than you because my hands get cold
Oh well.
during the winter time.
Okay.
So
and I'm like,
I thought,
who
oh
needs
my
a
gosh,
heated
heating
steering
steering wheel? That's genius. Do any of my cars have it? No, but my clients' cars do.
I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. I
Yeah.
was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
But now, I wouldn't go without it. And so when Heather said she wanted you to tint the sunroof, I'm like, it's a sunroof. It's already tinted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still bugs me. I like having, and I'm like, we'll just pull the little cloth thing over it. And she's like, no, that's different.
Too
Yeah.
dark, yeah.
I'm like,
It's too dark. The heat
What?
still gets
Yeah.
through.
yeah. I was like, what are you talking? I thought it was the dumbest thing. And then after she did it, I was like, I do kind of like that myself.
Yeah.
Again, I felt, I had to pull the guy card and go, yeah, I was wrong. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, even so, like your truck, on your truck, the back windows are already tinted.
Yep.
I think half the trucks that I do, I tint over that. The other half, I just do the two front windows.
Really?
Yeah.
And you leave the factory tint there and just make it even
Well, yeah,
darker
because it's
yet.
in the glass.
Oh, is
Yeah,
it? It's
yeah.
not a film. It's not.
No, it's in the glass.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Oh,
and
so you
then-
can't get rid of that if you wanted to without different glass.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, then we had speaking of the Corvette mentioned earlier, we needed a windshield in that. Had the windshield put in, and the windshield they put in did not have the tinted brow.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't have it available.
Yeah.
It's at 72, so it was hard to come by the piece.
Yeah.
And so then we called Daniel and said, "Hey, I need a brow put on this because that was miserable driving that thing
Bet.
without. I mean, you just don't think about it. But that, and then now every time we buy something, we bring it to you and have you put a brow on it.
Yeah.
Everything, every car. I mean, you've done 3 Challengers for us, I think. I mean, over the
Yeah.
years, and 2 or 3 pickups. The
Yeah.
Explorer. Well, same thing with the Explorer. When the wife got. She passed a gravel truck going the opposite direction, and it sent a piece of asphalt through the windshield and into the back of the Explorer. I mean, I don't know how fast it actually came into the car, but it came completely through the windshield, left about a 5-inch. It was about a 2-inch piece of asphalt, left about a 5.5, 6-inch hole in the windshield.
That's crazy.
Dead
That's
center.
fast. That's fast.
I mean, so I don't know if that would have been over 6 inches and been, hit her in the chest. I don't know what that would have done. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how much the windshield slowed it down, I guess. Let me say it that way. How dangerous that would have been to her. But if she had glass everywhere, and you had to detail that out of it. And then same thing, they put the windshield in, and that one, the glass company made the mistake. They put in a non-tinted window. There's no brow on it. And so we just called and said, "Is that right?" And then he's like, "Well," I said, "I have a friend of mine that can do it, But I said, and they actually compensated us for it, and we paid you, and
Yeah.
they paid us. But I was like, either that or put the right windshield in it. I mean, whatever. I don't care. I'm not going to be picky about it. Just get it right.
Yeah.
But no, you've done, like I said, so many of those for us. It's been great, and you've tinted well, I mean, side windows on everything
Yeah.
that we have.
Yeah. And had you gotten a side by side with, Windows,
Yeah.
I probably would have done that too.
I would have done that. Yeah, I would have if we. Yeah, no, I just get muddy
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah. Well, now you know for next time.
yeah, I do.
And from a personal experience, heat rejection is amazing. I mean, I
Yeah.
always get my cars tinted right away, and but my wife is like, nope, not happening on my car. Not gonna do it till I think you did my truck first, and then she sat in my truck. It's like, and it was the windshield. After we did the windshield, I was
sure.
like, see,
Yeah.
you don't feel the heat as much. Within a week, we had her car done.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wanted
Yeah.
it really bad because of the heat rejection.
Yeah, that's still a pretty common misconception with the older generation. They still think that you have to go dark to get the heat rejection, whereas now we have ceramic films, and that gives you the heat rejection at almost any shade.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess I'm the older generation now.
I'll be
Thanks.
there someday too.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Appreciate
no
that.
Yeah, but something else I want to mention too is like shortfalls and shortcomings and things like that is so one thing that you actually helped get through my head is that I thought I was like when I first started I'm like I got this free website on Google. It's just a landing page basically, and you just have the name of your business and you've got your phone number and like a way to contact you or whatever, your address.
Yep.
And you said to me, you're like, you gotta have, if you want those clients, you have to have a good website.
Yep.
And that stuck in my head for a little while, and I said, shit, I gotta get
Yeah.
something going.
I still
there.
believe that. I have a really good friend of mine, and we used to butt heads on this a lot, and I just quit talking about it.
It's made a huge difference.
But well,
Huge.
she's convinced that websites are useless, and the comment is no one looks at websites. If you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, it's all you need.
45,000 visitors the last 30 days, roughly.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So huge
awesome.
difference.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, huge. I mean, so I still stand by, even for this podcast, we're going to create a website for it.
What did I say? Did I say 45,000? I meant 4,500.
4,500. I
Sorry.
was going to say, I was thinking it's 45,000. I'm doing the math going.
it's
not that good.
I was going to say, but 45,000. Now you're talking that's
Yeah.
sponsorship.
Yeah.
Numbers.
It's
It's
not uncommon.
4,500.
It happens, especially during the busy seasons.
Yeah.
It happens. I mean, it's not uncommon to have it
Yeah.
in thousands
Sure.
on that
Yeah.
part.
But sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, no, but that's it. As we talk about, she's always talking about how you don't need to have a website. The Instagram and Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all that stuff is important. There's no question. But especially the older clientele, we don't have phone books anymore for the most part. Very, very seldom do you see a paper book anymore. Everything is online, and so when they look, they want the older generation. They don't want just a phone number. They don't want just a picture. They want some information.
Right.
And, they want to look at, if you have a business that has set hours or a business that the hours move a little bit, having that website, but the website's only as good as the amount of effort you put into it to keep it updated. So there's that too. If you have a business that's hours are changing and you're not going to update the website, well then it's a detriment. I mean, that's not helping you. But like I said, even for this podcast, if you were going to do, and this isn't a business, there's no monetary, we're not monetizing this at all. It's just, I'm enjoying it, and I'm learning this. I mean, if you'd have told me 6 months ago that we would have this set up in the house and the booms and the condenser, I didn't know the difference between a dynamic mic and a condenser mic. I'm on my second soundboard already. I'm spending money I shouldn't have to spend because
Second set of extension cords.
Yep, second set of extensions. Yeah, second set of ones you can hear on both sides. Yeah. But I just, you don't know this stuff, and I just jump in, and it's like, a good friend of mine always said, you gotta crawl before you walk, you gotta walk before you run. I was like, I'm more of that run, fall, bleed type. That's kind of my, let's just see where it goes. And that's kind of what we did with this podcast. But I bought a website domain for this.
Yeah.
But I think that'll, hopefully we get some subscribers, we get some viewers or listeners, and it helps everyone's business. I'm hoping everybody gets, so speaking of that, we're going to have, Daniel's already agreed to this, I think. We'll see. One of the things we're going to do on the website, and for the subscribers, for the listeners, we're going to have a links page, old school, like 20 years ago website. And so we're going to ask you for a small bio, something 150, 200 words or less. You want to throw some pictures in there. Through one of my companies, we do websites. So we have unlimited space. But we want to put And if you want to put your social media links or just your website or both, whatever. But we want a little bio that people can find you, click on it, read a little bit about you, and then find you between social media or your website. And have that on the website all the time so people can find you.
I think that's huge. I think that's huge because we're talking about that networking,
Right.
communicating between each other, communities, and things like that. So if you know somebody, you want to go find a business that you know that somebody else trusts.
Right.
Not necessarily. I mean, we can Google all we want.
Right.
We can read the websites all we want, but I'm still going to go to Daniel if I find him through somebody else.
Right.
So I think that's huge to have that. Yeah.
Well, that's key. And I mean, like both the people out there that trust me will now trust you guys.
Right.
But I mean, but rapport, having that referral. I belong to a networking group that, it's all about that. It's like, well, who can you refer me to? Who's in your network? Who do you trust? And it's huge. I mean, it's just that instant rapport. Otherwise, you have to build that with your clientele. When someone's referred to you, you can't destroy it. I mean, that's the you just have to maintain it. You don't have the expectation is there, the trust is there, and now it's yours to lose.
Yeah.
That's and that's where, like I say, hoping. I mean, I've been working on my network since I was a teenager. I've got friends that I went to high school with that I still see on a regular basis or talk to on a regular basis. Being in a small town helps that. We're a town of 5,000-6,000 people, whatever it is. It wasn't much smaller when I was a kid here, but you get that network. And then once you tell folks, hey, I use you guys. This is who I go to.
Yeah.
And then, we've sent you, you have customers, I'm sure, that send you more customers than I do. But I've sent you a fair amount of folks.
Yeah.
And, like I say, now it's your trust to lose.
Right.
They already trust you walking in. They're not going to browbeat you or interview you.
Right.
But as long as you do it right, they're yours.
Yeah.
So so I think that's the networking side of it. And I'd like to think we can be part of bringing some of that back, bringing that back to the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's, similar to him. I think that's what got mine kicked off, is all just the referrals and word of mouth.
Yep.
Before I even had the website. But like I said, the website helped quite a bit. But yeah, just going back to, I'm just trying to think back here, to one of my first nice cars.
Sure.
Shelby GT 500, and the person wanted me to coat their vehicle, and I had never coated a vehicle before, and I asked them, I'm like, so you want me to coat the vehicle for you? Like, you want me to do that car for you? It was a big deal to me.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't think he knew that, but I knew what was happening in that moment. Like, somebody told him that I do good work.
Yep.
And I've done work for them as far as like window tinting goes on their vehicles, and they trusted me enough with those, and they liked the work that I did enough that he trusted me to do his vehicle, even though he didn't ask me if I had any experience or anything like that. But he trusted that I was going to do a good job.
Yep.
And I figured it out, and I did it.
Yep. And you wouldn't, and he trusted you not to do it.
Right.
If you couldn't.
Right. Exactly.
If
I had enough confidence in myself that I knew I
Yep.
could figure out how to do it. I was just afraid to jump in and do it.
Yep.
And that's the only thing that was holding me back. And he kind of helped me make that jump.
Yep. Well, and one of our companies, we have a graphic designer. He is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not, right? That's why he's here, because I can't do that. So with me not being able to do that, I don't always understand what goes on to get his job done. So rather than just barking orders, hey, I need this done, get this handled, I've learned now it's like, how difficult is this?
Yeah.
This is what I have. This is what I want it to be. Mm-hmm. Is this a 5-minute just bang it out kind of thing? Or is this a, holy crap, I need 2 hours of coding and this and and whatever to get this done, with it, whether it's a change on my website or a client's website or something, or it's a design piece. I've learned to ask those questions, and it still boggles my mind sometimes when I'm looking at this going, wow, this is going to be a mess. And he's like, oh, no. And it's, by the time I hang up the phone, the email's popping up and it's already got it done. It literally took him 30 seconds and he's got it done. I thought it was going to be some big deal, but then other things I think are pretty simple. He's like, oh, dude, to make that change, we've got X amount of products. We've got to make that change on everything individually. It's not a quick automated thing. This will take me 3 hours.
Right.
It's like, really? That will? But I've learned to ask those questions. And but I trust him like that, that if I give it to him to do, it's going to get done. But we had to have that conversation because in the beginning I was just giving him these projects, and whether it took him 5 minutes or 5 hours, he didn't. I mean, never complained, just did it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm getting stuff at 2:00 in the morning. I wake up the next day because I'm not up at 2 in the morning anymore.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I see this email that came through at 2:10 a.m. And then I'll call him, the next day. I'm like, what were you doing up at 2 a.m.? He's like, well, I was doing that project. I just finished. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, when did you start it? And he's like, well, when you gave it to me, it was, whatever. You sent it at 8 o'clock, and I took it. I took off, and it took me 6 hours.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me that? Like, well, first off, I was probably sleeping by the time you got to that point. But yeah, it's like so I had to tell him. He's just like, well, I thought you knew. I thought you knew what you gave me. Well, I knew what I gave you. I had no idea what it took to do it.
Right.
If I knew how to do it, I'd have done it myself.
Right.
Kind of mentality. That's who I am. But so I had to let him know, don't give me that much credit. I have no idea what I'm sending you. Mm-hmm. If it's a 6-hour job, you need to tell me, because I'm going to look at some of the stuff going, yeah, that's not worth it.
Right.
Period. Yeah. We'll find another way.
Yeah. It's a huge thing that you actually recognize that.
It's most people don't. Yeah, that's the hard. I should say most, but a lot of people don't. Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating. It's like, no, again, I was talk to me like I'm a 3-year-old, because you're here because I need you, because I don't know how to do what you do. So yeah, talk to me like I'm a 3-year-old. That's fine. But and if I at the end of the day, if we have to spend 6 hours on a certain project, then that's what's got to be done. But not every project needs to get done, or maybe doesn't need to get done that way. Maybe is there a workaround? Is there something we can do? We can change, because like we're talking about websites. For me, I don't use my websites. Well, we're starting to get into more like Hard Hat Society. We're starting to get into where the website does work for us. I've always just used my websites for reference. Yeah. Because it's like you and I talked about a few years ago. It's like people find you online and they see who you are. They get a feel for it. They know your hours. They're not. I haven't been trying to sell things or do things online. Just reference. But it lends. It lends that your business is legitimate. So I still think websites are really important. But as an older guy, I do understand social media is also important, and it's a quick, easy way to get in front of your people. Mm-hmm. But I think you still need. There's a lot of the younger folk, the younger crowd. I mean, teenagers. Very few. There's not a lot of them on Facebook. I mean, Facebook is really phasing out.
Correct.
On
Snapchat,
that end.
TikTok,
Snapchat, TikTok.
Probably a couple others I don't know about.
Yep. Instagram seems to, like when we did our foreign exchange students, we were having exchange students come in. None of them were on Facebook, not a single one, but they're all on Instagram. So we were all able to. So even to this day, we communicate through Instagram now that they're back home, and they still not on Facebook. Like, Facebook's for old people. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me?
And for small business.
Yeah, and for small business. It's that's a tool. Keenan, he spent some good money. Keenan Kolstad's a friend of the show's. I know Daniel knows him. Do you know Keenan by chance? Probably not. Okay, but he went to some classes, spent a fair amount of money to learn Facebook.
Sure.
And so I've been following some of these guys that offer classes on how to market on Facebook. That's a great gig, because when they understand Facebook, because Facebook is constantly changing, like everything.
Correct.
So that class it's useless a year, or not useless, but it doesn't have near the value a year from now that it'll have today. And you'll be ready for a new class to learn the new things, we talk about the old websites, putting links out there. That used to be before SEO was really called SEO. Before people talked about search engine optimization, if I had a link on my website to yours and you'd link back, as soon as people started using that, Google would recognize it and it'd put us both on the map. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's not really a thing anymore. We're going to do the link thing because I like it, but it's not really going to be helpful to get my site out there, but it'll be helpful to the people that listen to this and go to the site.
Yeah. So
yeah, you got to find your niche. You got to find what works for you. And marketing, we talked about that. You can spend a lot of money with no results. So marketing is terrifying for a lot of
It can
folks.
lead you down the wrong path very quickly.
Very quickly.
And then trying to, YouTube something on how to put something online, and of course, there's so many different ways to do it. And next thing you know, you're spending $5 per every click, and just drain you with no results at all.
Right.
And stuff. There's companies that'll do it for you, and
Yep.
just let them know. But that can be very expensive
Yeah,
as well.
but then
too,
you're paying them
for,
to
for
pay
a small
someone.
business to grow at that time where you need that money.
Right.
That's why I talked about strategizing earlier. Try to strategize now for hopefully it will work for you down the road, and just
Right.
do the best you can.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're an hour and 20 minutes into our 45-minute
Doesn't
podcast.
seem like it.
No, that's crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
So I guess we'll leave with some parting notes. Dan, anything?
So I'll just leave with a story. I think back in my AutoZone days, just tying it back to it's about the people at the end of the day, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned before, I used to be a store manager for AutoZone here in Rochester, and I was in the back in my office and doing paperwork, going over some stats. I'm sure, maybe working on a schedule. And I'm always listening for the door. I'm always listening to hear my customer service reps greeting the customers and asking the questions. I was always paying attention to that to make sure that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. And in one instance, an older gentleman came in and I don't remember exactly all the details, but I think he was looking for something maybe under warranty, and the customer service person couldn't find it. And I could hear that the frustration level was getting higher, the anger was getting more intense, and I just stood out. I just walked out from behind my little office, and I just kept listening. I didn't say a word. I just stood next to the customer service rep and the customer, and I just crossed my hands and leaned up against the desk there up front, the counter. And pretty soon, he's facing me and he's talking to me. And I hadn't said anything to him yet. And when he's done, and when he pauses, all I say is, "Are you doing okay?" That's it. And he looks at me confused. And then he kind of thinks about it for a second. And he's like, "You know what? No, I've had a really bad day." And then he starts to tell me why he's having a bad day and what's going on.
And it wasn't your guy.
And it wasn't my guy. It
Yeah.
wasn't his fault or anything like that. And then he apologized to the guy. He's like, "I'm sorry, I've just had a really bad day," or whatever. And, I say to him, "What do you need?" And he tells me what he needs, and we take care of him. He pays for his part, and he leaves.
Yep.
But before he leaves, he just says, he turns back around to me and he says, and he puts his hand out and he says, "Thank you for asking me how I was doing, because I wasn't doing good. And I apologize." And that was that. So anyway, yeah.
And if that doesn't tell you it's about the people, nothing will. Nothing will.
Right. I could have easily, gone out there and, told them,
Be harsh.
"Get out of here," or whatever. You don't talk to my employees that way. But
Right.
nope, I
don't
took
get
a
paid to
different
deal
approach.
with this. Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
I took a different approach and it worked out. So
Yep.
yeah.
It doesn't work out every time, but you got to you got to start there.
Yeah.
You got to start there. I mean, we told a story real similar to that I had been through, and when I let someone when they're venting, my first question was, where do you work?
Yeah.
Don't be mean about it. Don't be snarky. But it's like, where do you work? And
I heard that story.
yep, that one. And it's like, it's like, well, I work in IT. Okay, because when someone's computer doesn't work, they're not happy. So you take this kind of abuse every day. I'm just here to tell you we're not used to it. We do a good job. We tell people what it's going to cost. They know what there's no there's no surprise. When you walk in the door to my shop and pick up your car, you're not surprised. You know what the bill is and you've approved it. And so that's I said. So with that being said,
he wasn't even part of the equation.
No, he was the
just there
stepdad.
to
Yep, he was the stepdad.
ruffle your feathers.
Yep. And it's just, but he was the stepdad that was all uptight after his stepdaughter and her boyfriend. She didn't understand what we were doing really, and so she passed me off to the boyfriend, and I explained it to him, and they said, "Okay, how much is it?" He said, "Can we afford this? Because it's a good price for what they have to do, but can we afford it?" And she decided they could, and we told us to fix it. But yeah, then the father or the stepdad comes in, and he's just going to put the hammer down and make sure I knew that I wasn't taking care of his little girl, and it's like when he says he works in IT, I was like, I bet you get this a lot. Because, people are upset in IT. I get that. When their computer doesn't work and they can't fix it, they're mad. I said, but we just don't get yelled at here. I'm just not used to this. I apologize. I don't mean to give you that blank stare, but I don't know how to handle this. This is just not, it's not something I have to deal with on a daily basis. Yeah. And he just kind of, in the end, he kind of calmed down. Obviously, he's like, because obviously I'm sure he doesn't get yelled at every day, but it's like, fine, I'll concede, but how about you, Aldin? Any parting thoughts before we go?
I was just thinking, listening to you guys' story, and in both scenarios, you recognized right away the issue. You stepped down to the level of, okay, I don't need to go ahead and add fire to the fire of the situation. And I think, we can always, I don't necessarily have a story that I can go ahead and connect with detailing or somebody yelling at me or something like that. But
that's good.
But
it really
that's
is.
right. That is, and I really don't have a bad story. I really don't. But what I do have is more of just a general idea. Is you have to listen to your customer. You have to really recognize what they're looking for. And when we talked about earlier about adding on services or things like that, that's not the goal. It's like we need to add something on just to go ahead and upsell you. It's just more of explaining the process. And then now you have to recognize, is this something they can really afford? Is this something that they really want? And just kind of look for those cues to see, what it is. You have to give them an options.
Right.
You have to recognize those options. Not everybody's budget is the same.
Right.
And kind of go from there. So I'll leave it at that. It's just, recognize the situation you were in and try to handle it the best way you can.
You can use that last mobile job that we did here recently, that green Hellcat. The guy didn't know that the vehicle was coated. It was ceramic coated. It was so easy to wash and clean. Everything just melted right off. And, he fully expected us to come in there and put a sealant on it because he wanted it protected. Well, he didn't need it.
He
didn't need it, so we didn't do it.
Yep.
We just washed it.
How hard would that have been to charge him for it anyway, or just do it? And,
Right.
Yeah.
We could have done it.
Yeah.
We could have charged him for it.
Yep.
But nope.
Yep.
That's not what we
And
did.
I've had plenty of, when I always look at, you try to be fair. Try to be fair to everybody. And I've, at one point, that had certain packages online, and there was a certain price for it. And somebody will pick a, $350 package for their car, and their car comes in, and I'm like, this car is clean. In my eyes. And I said, I can certainly, and I've actually called a customer one time, the story, I think it was at Toyota or something. I called them up and I said, hey, I can give you $100 off because it's not going to take me a long time to get this car done. Or is there something you want to add to, an exterior or sealant or something like that to fill up because you already planned to spend that much money aside? No, he was happy to take $100 off.
Sure.
And, he never came back, but
the opposite is also true, though.
But you know how many people he told about that.
I did the right thing.
You did the right thing.
I did the right thing.
And you don't know how many people he told about that story. That went, I got to go talk to Aldin. I mean, this guy who has it sold and then gives you a discount.
Of course, I don't know the story if he was, maybe in town or something like that. Or
well, Rochester Mayo Clinic, we get a lot of, I say transients, and I don't mean it that in a negative way, but I mean you get a lot of in and out.
Yeah, every couple of years. Yeah, every couple of years, people will come in and but yeah.
Yeah, well, awesome. Well, again, we're an hour and 26 minutes in, but. What'd you think? This was your first time being on a podcast?
First time, yeah. Actually, I was a little nervous at the beginning. I mean, I've honestly listened to a handful of podcasts in my life, so I'm not too familiar with that. But I'm definitely starting to like this process. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
Would you come back sometime and try it again?
I'll come back, and I'm excited just to network and to learn about other people's businesses and kind of what they do, what their strategies are, the marketing, because. I'm still considering myself fairly new at this, honestly. And like you said, things change
when you're done learning,
all the time.
Yeah.
And we can share that between each other. It says, hey, there's this new thing that, we can all benefit from, and hopefully we can share and improve our experiences and make our customers more happy. So
Awesome. That's right. Because if they're happy, they come back. Yeah, you bet. Thanks for coming on. All right, guys. Well, we're going to wind up another one. If you need to chat with one of these guys, we'll put something in the comments, I'm sure. But otherwise, look on our website, talkbusinesswithjerry.com. We'll have links to their businesses. Have a great night.